guys. I will be honest, I wasn't going to do a video on this. I didn't intend to because I just really haven't had time to think things through and get all of the information that I would want to include in. And secondly, I'm not an expert at this. This is not something that I do a ton of. I've done it on a lot of plants, but not a ton of cuttings with these guys. And so, however, there's just not that many chances I get to show this process, and there's so few examples of it that I find online that I thought, okay, I'm gonna show you how I do this. I am positive that this is not going to be the best way, the most efficient way, etc., but maybe it'll give you an idea of if you need to do it yourself and what to do. With this guy, I just unpotted this lovely, this is a, I believe, a bilobum. Yeah, this is a Conophytum bilobum mix, and it was not a cutting, as you can see, when I got it, and it's been just kind of being babied to see if the roots would come back. I gave the roots a good trim, and as you can see, the little pumice attached here is all of the new root growth. It's little white healthy roots, so it's definitely getting some good new root growth. However, this particular stem here has absolutely no root growth, and this guy has just been struggling since it came. And so I am going to remove him and start this guy as a cutting. And I think, you know, I've been going back and forth on whether to leave these guys. I think I'm going to leave these guys and baby them for a little bit longer, since this new root growth is doing better. So I'm not going to do all of these guys. Alrighty. So with these guys, I like to use a really sharp knife. It works better for me. Scissors are great for part of it, and a knife is better for part of it. If there's any kind of a husk, you would want to peel it off, and then I'm going to use scissors on part of this because this stem is completely dead. I always cut until, alrighty, I got a good juicy inner stem here. And then what I'm doing, if you can't tell here, is I'm peeling basically very gently with the tip of this knife. I'm peeling the hardened outer bit of the root, and I'm trying to expose the meristem, which is this little white center inner part. And a lot of times this bark on the outside, I'm going to call it, it's not bark, but the outer coating of the root isn't this hard, and it'll just pull away really fast. But with this guy, it's harder, as you can see. And some people remove all of the outer coating. I leave a little bit sometimes, and it doesn't seem to give these guys any problem. However, what you don't want to do, here we go, sorry, a lot of me talking. What you don't want to do is pull this guy out. This is kind of acts as the brain, which this guy may be a bit too far gone. I'm not real certain if this is still gonna, but he may not be. He had some damage when he arrived, and he may not perk up, but then again, he may. And then he's going to go in to this lovely little tub. This is a mixture of mostly rough sand or sharp sand with sharp sand and pumice. It's probably 4 parts sand to 2 parts pumice to maybe 1 or a half of a part peat. And a lot of times we don't want peat because of, well, some of the succulents don't like the really acidic nature of peat, but usually we don't like it because it forms this really hard crust on the top of the soil. and it makes it really hard to water. However, in a ratio like this, it's not going to do that. It gives me just a little bit of acidity for these guys, which they tend to like. So that's why I used a little bit in this. All right, another reason that I hesitated to do a video on doing cuttings is because I get so focused because I don't want to ruin these guys, and I forget to talk and explain what I'm doing. So pardon me if you don't like really boring videos. I would suggest you find another one at this point. But if you're curious to watch, go right ahead. All right, so with this guy, I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking for live tissue, and I cut until I find live tissue. You can cut the meristem all the way back to the conophytum, as long as you don't, or the base, as long as you don't pull it out. And these have gone so long that they're just so spongy. It's really difficult to get it clean. If they're fresh, it's so much easier to do this. If they're happy and healthy, it's so much easier to take a cutting. You just slide the stem away and clip back the meristem, and it's a lot easier. But since there's not a lot of info on this out there, I thought, well, even though this is a bit tedious, I'm going to show. I'm just clipping around the meristem. I'm not cutting it off. I'm leaving a little bit, as you can see. If you didn't see my other video where I've discussed these guys I imported, and they've been kind of recovering in a community pot together, and they had a disaster where the light got left on solid for about a week, and then my husband took the heater out of them when we had a cold snap, and they got really cold, and so they have just kind of been sad. So whether or not they will perk up, we shall see. I'm hoping that I will get one that's a little bit not quite as withered here, that you guys can get a better look at how this is done, because this is really hard to show on these smaller ones. Maybe I'll try a larger pot next and see if that works. But scraping the outer tissue off does several things, but it stimulates these guys in a similar way that pruning does, and it exposes that inner meristem and tells the plant, hey, you need to get going, produce some roots. At least that's what we're hoping for. All right, let me do this last little cluster here, and actually maybe I'll separate these and see if that will show us a little more. So for this one here, it has some of the paper husk still around the base, if you can see. Sorry, I even have a light here and I'm not quite sure if it's showing up really good. Anyways, you want to pull this off, and usually if they're fresh, in pulling that off, it will kind of pull the outer shell of the root off also, and leave the little meristem exposed. But these are still too shriveled. All right, I am going to set these aside for now so that this video doesn't get insanely long, and move on to these and see if these show up a little bit easier. All right, this guy is actually producing some roots, which is fantastic, but I am still going to remove at least a few of these heads to remove the burden off of the tiny little root system, and just to start rooting a few of the ones that look less likely to survive attached to the main stem. So I'm just seeing where the roots are coming out here and which ones look like they're good and healthy. Yeah, I believe these ones, I'm going to remove these two. And already I can see there's nice white healthy tissue. And the snip told me that this is all still good and alive. So with a larger one, this is a little bit easier to see. You just peel the outer husk off. And then I'm going to use a knife because these are really woody. It really depends on if you're more comfortable using your fingers or a knife, but for these really woody ones, a knife works better for me. A really tiny pair of like fingernail scissors can work really well as well. Tweezers can be helpful. All right, so there you can see a little bit better what a nice healthy little meristem looks like going in. And then you just can't pull it out. It doesn't actually need to be sticking out. You can cut it off flush with the plant, no problem. You can leave them out a little bit if you want also, but the main problem is if this becomes detached from your leaf, then you're not going to have a very good chance of survival. I was looking for the tag for these, but I guess these didn't have a tag. I'm poking them over into my little tub here, and we'll start on this one. This is, well, actually for these guys, this is not an ideal time to be starting cuttings, and I knew this was a risk when I ordered these guys. Winter is their active growing season, so that's not so much the problem as the fact that the days are really, really short. A bit later would have been better, or a bit earlier, but this was the last chance I would have before spring to get any more shipped to me, and because it's just too cold. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna risk it. And these weren't supposed to be cuttings, they were supposed to be rooted plants, but when you're importing them, the roots sometimes die, and so you have to go this route, which is just fine. There's a beautiful, beautiful little baby there. And again, you can just cut this, just don't pull it out, but it can be cut back a bit so that it doesn't get damaged. You can then dip these in rooting hormone. Some people dip them in honey because it's just antibacterial and helps protect them against fungal infections a little bit. Some people say it even is a natural rooting stimulant also, honey. Just keep in mind that honey from your grocery store a lot of times isn't honey, or it's not pure honey anyways, and it's cut with water and corn syrup and other things. So getting some honey from like a natural grocer, organic co-op, or some local honey would be ideal if you're gonna go the honey route. Just looking at these guys, seeing if I think I'm gonna leave these guys attached to their stems. It looks like we got a nice little cluster of roots going on, and the rest of these are pretty good. They just need a water. Now that they're getting roots, they're ready for a good water. So I'm gonna set those there. I'm trying to think of what else to tell you guys about these. This cluster, which I showed in another video, was just a cutting, as you can see. And it's been rooting for, let's see, probably 3 months now, and there's no new growth whatsoever. So actually I take that back. There are two little lovely little hairs coming out here. However, to help it along, It's just not, it's not enough roots to support this guy. I am going to take a few of these off, and just to relieve the burden, there the words are coming, relieve the burden on the tiny little root system so that the new roots that are forming don't have as much to do, and these guys can start getting a little bit more nutrition, and also just to, since this guy is a pretty decent cluster, I'm just going to go ahead and make 2 out of them anyways, and I may divide him up a little bit more. Yeah, this guy doesn't have any roots on him, so we're going to go ahead and peel back the paper husk gently. And you don't, I mean, the paper husk obviously doesn't hurt them. That's just the remnants of last year's growth that then becomes a protective coating from the sun to protect the new leaves as they form. And it just kind of naturally gets like a snake skin type texture around the base. I think I'm going to separate all of these, so this guy's going to come off. That one was barely attached. You don't want to pull too hard. And it can be really scary, like I said in the other video that I was talking about cuttings in. It can be kind of scary ripping your plants apart like this, especially when they're expensive, and you probably, if they're Conophytum like this, you probably hunted for them for quite a while, and yeah, it can be a little bit scary. But leaving them all attached to a stem without roots, and not taking cuttings to encourage new growth, you're probably, well, you are a lot more likely to lose the entire plant that way. So this is a better option than losing your whole plant. I don't usually go this route right when I get them, because there's a chance that the roots will wake up after shipping bare root, etc. But after a couple months, if there isn't some fairly substantial root growth, then this is the best way I've found to keep them happy. And if anyone else has been doing cuttings with these guys and found any tips or tricks that really help or increase your success rate, etc., please share them in the comments below. I would love to hear your ideas, and I'm sure everyone else would too. If you'd like to join our Facebook group, there will be a link in the description box below for that. And then you can share photos, which is always a lot of fun. I love seeing your guys' photos that you share, and plants. The small withered ones are sure a lot more tricky than the large, nice fat ones. But all right, I'm not going to peel all of the rest of this one off right now, because I don't want to take up that much of your time to just keep doing the same thing, because I'm just running out of stuff to say while I'm doing this. I have multiple of these clusters that are going to be separated. I divide them up by species. I put them all in a tub like this that I can then sit on a warming mat out in the cool shop, so they have cool air flowing over the top, but with a warming mat underneath the bottom. I do mist them. I don't leave them completely dry, especially when they're in this kind of condition where they're really, really shriveled and struggling and have been dehydrated already. If this was a different time of year and I was taking fresh, really healthy cuttings, I wouldn't mist them right away. But I usually give them a little bit of mist now and then, especially with the bottom heat underneath, because that dries everything out a lot faster, and you don't want these guys to dry out too much. You also don't want them to rot, but that's not very likely to happen in this instance with this amount of moisture. Alrighty, I have, well, we'll just pull this cluster out while we're here. I believe it's rooting really well. It had some damage a while back. I can't remember what happened to this guy, if he got knocked out and dumped over or what, but the center, if you can see here, the center leaf has shriveled and died, which I completely expected. There was a couple of them there, and so I just want to unpot it, check and make sure. It seems to be plumping up really nicely, but just check. Yeah, we got a nice little root ball going on here, but I'm still going to remove a bit of dead tissue and look at where they join onto their roots and make sure that this is actually some new root growth and not just the old. Yep, it's new root growth. The roots are really white and fuzzy, which is a fantastic sign. And look and see how they're looking down here. Usually I have a long set of tweezers that I have right here, and I didn't grab that before I sat down today. Yep, these are looking really great. They're very, very firmly attached to their stems and their roots. They're not dry and shrivelly at the base like these others. Trying to find a cluster to show you here. It's so hard to see on these small ones, but where they join the roots, it's just really shriveled and hard. And these guys are more fat and woody. It's still definitely hard, but that's very normal for these guys. But it's fat in that they are getting. It's obvious they're getting nutrition from the roots, which is fantastic. Exactly what we want. Alrighty, so this cluster is going to get replanted and get a really good watering. You can see it finished blooming. Now that the new root growth is going like crazy, we are good to go with a nice soaking on that. And I had sand as a top dressing on this. You probably saw, but I don't mind if the sand just gets mixed in with this little guy. Just going to add a little bit of pumice on top instead of the sand, which I like a little bit better. But this guy, I didn't want him to dry out too much right where he was joining the roots because he was having issues. So I used sand to actually purposefully hold a little bit more moisture around him until I knew he was happy to where I could mist the top a little bit. Alrighty. He could be planted a bit deeper, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to give him a good soak and leave him be. Alrighty, I think I will call that good for today. This video is already 25 minutes long for just seeing the cuttings that I was doing. I hope that was helpful to some of you guys. I know probably to most this is just one of those boring videos that you'll watch a few minutes of and probably go right past, which is totally understandable. But for those of you who are taking care of these guys and trying to grow them, hopefully that'll be a little bit helpful or give you an idea of how it's done, or a way to do it, I should say. And I wish you guys the best of growing, and Happy New Year's. It is the 1st today of January 2018, so happy growing to you guys and Happy New Year.